Before tonight, Anthony Weiner was a household name in many liberal households. Not necessarily because he was a particularly powerful member of Congress, but because he was particularly powerful on YouTube.
It's Republicans wrapping their arms around Republicans rather than doing the right thing on behalf of the heroes. It is a shame! A shame! If you believe this is a bad idea to provide health care, then vote no! But don't give me the cowardly view that, oh, if it was a different procedure, the gentleman will observe regular order and sit down. I will not. The gentleman will sit. The gentleman is correct in sitting.
Anthony Weiner has been beloved by many liberals, not just because he takes liberal positions and strong positions on on policy issues that are important to liberals, but because when he does take a position publicly, he often does so in a bombastic, out loud, sometimes funny way. He does that on the floor of the House. He does that on cable news, both in environs like these here at MSNBC, and with great contentious good humor at places like Fox News.
Okay, this is the way interviews work. You ask a question, and I get to answer.
Oh, thank you.
When you put your commentaries at the end, they better be factually correct, and in this case, they aren't.
Was she or was she not the Solicitor General of the United States?
That was not the part that I'm taking exception to, if you let me finish my thought.
I remember covering her confirmation hearing to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what goes on at Fox is actually coverage, but we'll get that to another conversation.
Okay. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. All the best to you.
Great interview. Aces.
Aces. Anthony Weiner knew that he was very good at stuff like this. That particular clip from Fox News was not something that I saw when it aired on Fox News. I saw that for the first time when Anthony Weiner himself played that clip of himself at the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner in what was a very funny speech, making fun of things like his own last name, making fun of his political enemies, and making fun of Fox News, and generally cracking everybody up. So Anthony Weiner is the congressman with an admittedly funny last name who nevertheless has become a household name in liberal households in particular for the last couple of years. As of today, he, of course, is a household name for everybody.
Last Friday night, I tweeted a photograph of myself that I intended to send as a direct message as part of a joke to a woman in Seattle. Once I realized I had posted it to Twitter, I panicked. I took it down and said that I had been hacked. I have engaged in several inappropriate conversations conducted over Twitter, Facebook, email, and occasionally on the phone with women I had met online. I have exchanged messages and photos of an explicit nature with about 6 women over the last 3 years. I haven't told the truth. And I've done things I deeply regret. I brought pain to people I care about the most, and the people who believed in me. And for that, I'm deeply sorry. I apologize to my wife and our families, as well as to our friends and supporters. I am deeply ashamed of my terrible judgment and actions.
After that, Congressman Weiner took the rare but not unprecedented step of taking questions from reporters, taking questions for an astonishing 25 minutes from a press pool that started out in a frenzy and quickly boiled over into, frankly, repetitive incoherence and finally self-parody.
Will you help to support Arnold's love child?
Will you help to support Arnold's love child? Whether or not you had an opinion about Anthony Weiner before today's news about him, what does it mean that he apologized so floridly and with such emotion, but he did not resign? If what happened today is the final chapter in this particular scandal, he's not resigning, but he did go on the record in this most astonishing way today. Is that a typical outcome for a scandal like this? Is this being turned into a bigger deal or a smaller deal than other political sex scandals suggest it ought to be? That is an empirical question, and we have a graph for that. To the grid. All right. This is our highly subjective but still doing our best. We have this? All right. Highly suggestive but still doing our best. Post-Bill Clinton modern American political sex scandal consequenceometer. I love consequenceometers. Okay? On the vertical y-axis. New York Magazine does something vaguely like this, which may be where I got the idea. If so, thank you, New York Magazine, for the idea. But the way that we came up with it is this. On the vertical, right, on the y-axis, we've got more creepy all the way down to less creepy. On the horizontal y-axis, we've got less prosecutable all the way over to more prosecutable. And by prosecutable, I mean rules charges, right? Ethics charges, potentially legal charges, criminal charges, tax charges, campaign finance charges. This is sort of a vaguely defined but prosecutable term, right? Now, major political sex scandals after Bill Clinton, okay? We're trying to come up with the right pointer for this. We decided that a big grabby hand would be the good one. Actually, there's no good one. It's the least bad one. It's still pretty bad. All right, August 2004. Jim McGreevey, remember him? Democratic governor of New Jersey admits that he has cheated on his wife with a man. Governor McGreevey says he is gay, and he resigns. It's a little bit creepy, the lying, the adultery, the fact that the man he said he was involved with was someone he had appointed to a Homeland Security position. But as these things go on the overall matrix, this is on the low side of the creepy scale. And not particularly prosecutable either, right? Again, as these things go. Florida Congressman Mark Foley in 2006. Republican, right? Mr. Foley resigns after allegedly sending explicit instant messages to underage congressional pages. Quite creepy, given that they are underage and, in the congressional scheme of things, subordinate to him in the workplace, and therefore quite conceivably prosecutable, though in this case not prosecuted. Louisiana Senator David Vitter, Republican. His name turns up on the D.C. Maddow phone list in July 2007. David Vitter apologizes for, quote, serious sins. He then runs for re-election and wins. Thank you, Louisiana. Senator Vitter is not dealing with underage people or people subordinate to him in the workplace, but the allegation is prostitution. The allegation is paying for sex. So that is relatively high on the prosecutability scale. Then there is Senator Larry Craig of Idaho. Right? You may remember good old Mr. Wide Stance, arrested in June 2007 for lewd conduct in a Minnesota airport bathroom. I wish we had a special axis here, like maybe one that came out this way for kind of pitiful. Instead, we go sort of medium on the creepy scale for the rank hypocrisy of a virulently anti-gay politician tapping away his reputation in a bathroom stall, and sort of medium also on the prosecutable. He did eventually plead guilty to a misdemeanor. Mr. Craig said that he would resign from the Senate, but then he did finish out his term anyway. Then there was New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, boink, a Democrat, admits in March 2008 to paying for sex with hookers. He resigns, and now he has the same kind of job that I have. His case is just about exactly as creepy and as prosecutable as David Vitter's. If we could put them one on top of the other, we would, but then that would look like a whole different kind of commentary. Nobody's underage. No one is in a subordinate position to him in the workplace here. But again, the allegation is prostitution. It is paying for sex. So, again, high on the prosecutability scale. Senator John Ensign, Republican of Nevada, big family values guys, admits in June 2009 to cheating on his wife with a married staffer who was married to another one of his staffers, who both happen to be longtime family friends of his. Nearly 2 years later, he announces he would be resigning, but only because it seems like he was about to be thrown out of the Senate. Special counsel report on Mr. Ensign paints him as pursuing the affair against the stated wishes of the woman he is pursuing it with. Both the mistress and her husband are definitely subordinate to him in the workplace, and their whole family is essentially 100% financially dependent on him. He is not paying for sex directly like Vitter and Spitzer, but the coercion and abuse of power, frankly, more than makes up for it on the creepy scale. The prosecutability here, of course, is quite evident in the special counsel's report, the referral for campaign finance and criminal investigation, and the fact that the Senate Ethics Committee was considering expelling him about 5 seconds before he quit. A week after the Senator Ensign scandal was first revealed, South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford, another family values Republican, admits he is having an affair with a woman from Argentina, and he is staying on as governor. This may be among the less creepy scandals on our graph. I mean, it's pretty much straight up family values, politician, adultery, hypocrisy, right? But he did face 37 ethics charges all of which he was eventually cleared by in South Carolina. But clearly, they pursued 37 different ethics charges against him. Let's put him here. Congressman Eric Massa, Democrat of New York, March of 2010. Democrat admits to tickling a staffer until the man cannot breathe. Mr. Massa resigns. Slightly less creepy than Mark Foley, right? Because the staffer was at least an adult. I think this one is less prosecutable, too. Not totally, but less. Congressman Chris Lee, New York Republican. Married. He got caught looking for an extra helping on Craigslist and saying he was somebody else while he was doing it. He resigns before you could hit refresh on that one. For showing up shirtless on Gawker, he gets to be creepier, certainly, than Mark Sanford and these guys. But in terms of prosecutable, he's not prosecutable at all except in the Gawker.com comment section. California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Republican, fathered a child with a woman who worked for his family. The news broke last month after he was already out of office as governor for the affair with someone in a subordinate staff position to you, and for having a kid with that staffer who you hide from your wife and your other children for a decade. You, sir, are capital C creepy. Mwah. Yes. Mr. Schwarzenegger has faced a few questions about state money to cover things up here, but so far he's way down on this side of the graph because nothing's solidly prosecutable. Former Senator John Edwards, Democrat, running for president in 2008, the National Enquirer publishes news of an extramarital affair and child. In October 2007, while he is running for president, Mr. Edwards denies it. Meanwhile, his campaign never really gets off the ground. He quits the campaign in January 2008 after a disappointing showing in those early primaries. By August of that year, John Edwards admits to having the affair. Finally, January of 2010, he admits that the child is his. For his phony campaign image as a loyal husband and for using his wife, who was battling terminal cancer, in his campaign ads, and for denying that he had fathered a child. He, of course, is capital C creepy, and for being indicted just last week, I would say he is among the most prosecutable here. Which brings us to the reason I am up here with this slappy-handed, awkward pointer thing in the first place. Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York, Democrat. Hi, Congressman. Welcome to our consequence-ometer. Congressman Weiner has just admitted to exchanging explicit photos and Facebook messages with women who were not his wife. Some before he got married, some after he got married. It is kind of creepy, the idea of messages like that coming from a congressman's Twitter account and Facebook page that he also used for a lot of official politicking. So far, anyway, this one looks like it is not really prosecutable at all. Although we will be talking about potential ethics charges later on in the show. Also, Congressman Weiner making clear today he is not resigning. This is our best estimation of where these various scandals fall on these various axes. Now, you may think differently. I actually think that I would put Vitter up a little higher than Spitzer on the creepy axis if I was going to do this now because of the hypocrisy thing that Spitzer didn't really have there in terms of the family values stuff. But all of this stuff is fairly subjective, right? You could put these guys where you want them. But looking at this data set in general, without nitpicking here, these are the ones who resigned. Okay, the ones with circles around them here. We don't include John Ensign here because he didn't resign because of the sex scandal. He only resigned because he was about to get thrown out of the Senate, which is not the same thing. So these are the ones who resigned. These are the ones who did not resign, including today, Congressman Weiner. Hello. He's now in this group, but, of course, without having any of the family values political hypocrisy that some of these other guys had. Mr. Weiner explained his decision not to resign today by saying that while he was very sorry for what he had done, he had committed no crime. He had broken no rules of the House. Whether or not you agree that he should have resigned or should not have resigned, whether you think this apology was enough or wasn't enough, or if you think it was too much, this is sort of how what he did stacks up against his really, really opposite of illustrious cohort on the post-Bill Clinton modern political sex scandal consequence-ometer. That said, will your opinion about what happened today, about Anthony Weiner and the way he has handled this particular sex scandal, will it change if he moves further in this direction, if he moves further down the prosecutable axis? Democrats in the House of Representatives are calling for an ethics committee investigation of Congressman Weiner, Democrats, his own leadership. If that moves him down the scale, will that make you feel differently about what he decided to do today? That's next.